Is it time? Yes. All right, so let's start out with what I have to read. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing a limitation on the number of people that may gather in one location, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information such as instructions and guidelines from remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website at yarmouth.ma.us. The video will be posted on the town's YouTube page as soon as we are able. I think that takes care of that, and then we'll have a roll call of.
Scott, are we recording this?
I got it this time.
Chris,
Do
we'll
we
have
need
a
a
roll
motion to
call.
approve that? I'll make a motion to approve this introduction.
Let's do a roll call of members. Chris,
Here.
Ted,
Here,
Richard,
Yes.
new member Frank Fields,
Here.
new member Andrew Laird,
Here.
and Jay will be a new member. He has yet to be voted in as selectman, so he is here with us today, but can't participate in any voting yet, I believe.
So it'll be reflected in the minutes as a unanimous vote of all attending members or all attending committee members.
Okay. So I think I just did the introduction to the new members, but maybe Andrew, you could just give a brief sentence about yourself and how your desire to be on the committee.
Thank you. I've been living in Yarmouth for 3 years now. I came down here from Southborough, which is right outside of Boston, to assist my elderly father who is, he needs assistance. I've been coming to Yarmouth probably since 1980 exactly, and have played both courses, love them both. Actually 3 courses, and looking forward to being part of this this committee and help drive the initiatives. Thank you.
Frank?
I've been retired for 25 years and a member of Baybury for 25 years. I was formerly the town engineer in Lexington, Massachusetts.
Jay?
Hope to be an asset for the committee.
Go ahead, Frank. You can finish.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I've had enough to say.
Okay. I'm Jay Frapery. Owned a house here in Yarmouth for about 11 years and been here full time for 4 now. We're here year round, so we love the area and plan on taking as much advantage as possible going forward. I'm originally from Connecticut. Lived in Farmington, Connecticut before this for the last 20 years. So been an active member of the golf course since 2018 and coming back from shoulder surgery, but I've been out there a few times and it looks like it's going to be okay. So looking forward to participating.
Looking forward to having you all join us. And I see that Andy's here and Bev is not here, part of the meeting tonight, but I did want to thank them for all their years of participation in the committee. Thanks very much. Before we get started with our agenda, we were thinking that maybe the new members and maybe ongoing members would like to know more about the committee, how it evolved, how an enterprise committee works, some of the issues that we've had dealt with in the past few years, and wondering if you wouldn't like a kind of a meeting of just a overview of some of these items.
I'd add to that sort of some of the financial information that's been available, almost like an orientation workshop perhaps, so that you guys would have an opportunity to get sort of the soup to nuts, and we could send out an agenda of that if that would be of interest.
I'd appreciate that. That's fantastic. This is
Great
Andrew.
idea.
History and information is always helpful. So yes, that'd be great.
All right, well, we'll see if in the next couple of weeks we could set that up. And if you would like to submit any particular details that you would like us to cover, send me an email and we'll get it going.
Okay.
Will we be able to record, have a Zoom session for that as well, Scott?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
All right. First item is the minutes of the previous meeting, which were to approve them. And I think they were sent out to you. And anybody have any thoughts on them? Any questions?
Before you vote on any minutes, can you just vote to amend some previous minutes to add the link to the YouTube page,
Yeah,
to the
so-
minute page?
So one of the things I did for, this last minutes were to include the link to the meeting, which a number of you commented was very useful. And so I also went back to all of the previous meetings that we've had where there was a YouTube video and updated the minutes to reflect those links as well. And so what Scott is asking that we do is affirm that those modifications to the previously approved minutes would be acceptable.
I need
Correct.
a,
So you're talking about what you did in item number 1, where you have the link to YouTube right at the end of
Right, and so
paragraph.
basically I went back to all of the other meeting minutes where there was a recorded YouTube video and added the same sentence with the appropriate link.
I thought that was a nice touch when I saw it today. So yeah,
Yeah. Just need a vote to affirm it up. That's
I'll
all.
make a motion to affirm the addition of the YouTube link to the past minutes where one is available.
second. Anyone? Chris seconds it. All
You
right.
need a roll call vote on that.
Yep, that's coming next. Roll call. All right. Richard,
Yes,
Ted,
Yes.
Frank Fields,
Yes,
Jay. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote yet. Andrew,
I'll say yes.
and I say yes.
and Chris? Yes, yeah, okay.
Chris, you're on mute though.
I guess that would help if I raised my hand, but I didn't. You guys probably had their lip read while I was doing that. So I do. I vote yes.
Okay.
So we're up to the approval of the current minutes then.
Yes, now we are up to the approval of the current meeting minutes. Anybody want to?
I'd like to make a couple of minor corrections. I had put a placeholder in for, I'm going to go to the thing that was in the section that dealt with the director's report, and I had a placeholder that said X number of links, 2020 links pass holders have upgraded to an unrestricted pass. And I don't have the exact number, and I don't think it's easy to get to at this point. So I just have modified it to say a number of the 2020 links pass golfers have upgraded to an unrestricted pass. And once again, I didn't fix the footer to the right date, so I've also made that change.
Any additional changes? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a
Weeks.
motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Anybody want a second?
I
That'd be
second.
Thank you. Roll call. Chris,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Richard,
Yes,
Frank,
Yes,
Andrew,
Yes,
and I also accept.
thank you.
And by the way, I just looked at the screen and thought I really should have introduced, does anyone not know Scott, who's the director of operations for golf? And Dennis, who is a member of the operations, golf operations.
okay.
All right, moving on to public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight? Okay, guess that's fast. Let's move right on then to the director's report.
All right, let's get going here. So we've had some, and Dennis can jump in whenever he feels is good here. So one of the biggest updates that happened last month is on April 30th, we've lost all restrictions related to COVID that went away, which is nice. So we're not under any restrictions related to COVID. So any cart restrictions or anything, that all went away. We are doing some stuff to still keep people safe, but it's no longer required from the state.
Flag will come out.
Everything, yep. Back to old golf around here. Both courses are done with aeration, which is nice. Both courses are open 7 to 8 days a week going forward. And the mat is installed on the driving range at both spots. We sided one, and we got the next one sided next week, and we'll get that open in a couple weeks. For restaurants, if you haven't been in there yet, please do so if you would like. They're both open 7 days a week now. They'll be added to the menu in the coming weeks. And their restrictions have gone pretty easy too. They can do inside and outside seating at both places. Course conditions, things are shaping up nicely out there.
Quick question on that. The liquor license is still pending approval, right? Or has
That's
it?
correct. Yeah, that goes in front of the board tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yep. For course conditions, we are shaping up pretty nicely with the rainfalls that have been occurring nicely. We are regularly mowing now. We did complete fertilization the last couple of weeks, so things are really starting to move in the right direction for us. And then I'm sure you noticed there are some stumps out there that have been cut from the trees that cut this winter. We still got to tackle that, but that will be done over the next 2 weeks. So things are shaping up nicely out there. Nothing that you guys have probably noticed too hard on the POS side, but Dennis can elaborate this a little bit. We are now up and running at both places with Club Profit and 1-to-1 marketing. From my understanding, I'm not heavily involved on the day-to-day side, but it's a lot easier to use, and I'll let Dennis go for here for a little bit.
Sure. The new Club Profit system we've been using now for a couple weeks now, and it's very easy for the operators to use when checking in people. It's a much easier system to deal with, easier to move things around, and inventory controls, etc., just far easier than it was with the Chelsea system. So it's been a good upgrade, and we're hopefully getting more staff on shortly, which we can get them all trained up to use it, and then it should be pretty easy to go going forward. So it's been a good upgrade.
This is Andrew. Can I ask a question? Is that part of the website that email pushes that come out to anybody that signs up? Is that part of that?
That's not part of it's part of the 1-to-1 marketing company,
Okay.
which is a company that does the email marketing and the things on Facebook, etc.
Mhm.
the point of sale system is separate. That's just
Okay.
for the clubhouse operations, and eventually it's going to get switched over to tea times. Right now, we're still using the Chelsea system for the booking of tea times, and you have to download the information over to the new system. But hopefully that's going to all go under one eventually.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a lot really further. 1-to-1 marketing is Club Profits partner, so we just partnered with them to do everything that we need to with one company to work with. It's really easy for us. So I'll let Dennis speak to the sound policy. He helped create that. So
I just got a question. I guess talking about the point of sale system, it's a good time to bring it up. I've gotten a couple of questions, inquiries, it's whatever you want to call them, that come in over the GEC chairperson website. One of them related to not getting the emails that get sent out. If they log in to on the website, where, like, if you go on the Bayberry tab and you look down where it has the sign up for offers, if they sign up on that, will they get the email blasts?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe people should be told when they become members to sign up there, to make sure that they go there and put their name in, rather than thinking that just because they're on the Chelsea system, they're automatically going to get everything.
well that's true. If you're on the Chelsea system, that's entirely different process and than us sending out the emails to 1-to-1 marketing. So, but if you signed up online through a membership, that would automatically get you into the 1-to-1 marketing and everything like that. But yeah, we can have staff start.
Yeah, but there's still those people out there who aren't getting the emails.
Right. No, we're aware.
So if people are told when they buy a membership, particularly new members, that if they go on that onto the town website, Yarmouth Golf, and choose that that tab and register their email address there, that's a way of making sure they get the email blast.
Right. And we could start telling staff to do that, but I don't know, Dennis can elaborate, but I think when we take in their registration email, that's added automatically to it when we put it in the system, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's put the emails transferred automatically over to the new system. So they should be getting it. If not, we'll see if they can have them, maybe we can send out a message to tell them to call the pro shop if they're not receiving email. Well, then they're not going to get those emails either.
They're not
Probably.
going to get, they're not going to get the emails to know that, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll just start educating staff to just, to go to our website and click the link and sign up if you haven't signed up yet.
Yeah, the one person that I got the email from only knew that there were emails that she was missing because her husband was getting the emails and she wasn't.
Right. Yeah, so we'll definitely, maybe we'll put a sign up in the pro shops as well and start doing it that way. And the more people tell, the better, obviously.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea for a while, to have a sign up for people that, because it would be great to keep the newsletters going and have everybody.
Yeah, especially, as long as everybody gets them, they're really good.
Yeah.
I'll agree to that. Similar situation for me. I didn't receive the newsletters for probably close to 2 years, but I did get them, so thank you. And I agree that they are very informative and well done. So,
on a similar vein, another item that I've gotten some questions about. Occasionally, I'll get emails from people who, and it seems to be that they are sending the emails out after the pro shop closes, and they really have a question that would go to the pro shop, like, do you have a left-handed rental club set? Because I've got a tea time for tomorrow, but the person sends it out at 8:30 Okay. A few other things like that that are real. They're really aimed at the pro shop. Somebody wanted to know how they could buy lessons for himself and his sister for a birthday present. And really the thing to do is to call the pro shop. And again, that person's sending this out at 7:00 at night. But would it be possible to put in an email address for the pro shops? Someplace
Yes,
where
actually,
people
yeah.
could see it. So, because I think what's happening is they start looking around for some way to contact someone. And one of the first things they see is the GEC chairperson email account. And so they start sending the stuff there. And I try to help them as much as I can, but
Right.
I also can't do anything about it either, particularly at 10 o'clock or 10:30 when I'm checking my email before I go to bed.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That we actually got clarity from IT, I think last week, that we can do a like it's going to be a pro shop at yarmouth.me, whatever email address, and it will tag like 4 or 5 staff members to it. So 4 or 5 of us will get the email at one time, so someone will address it at that point.
Oh, okay, that would be good. Yeah.
This is Andrew. I didn't check the website, but do we list that on the website that there's left-handed rental clubs available?
I don't know if it's on the website yet, but we just are in the process of switching over our rental sets, and once we receive them all, we'll put everything online that we have. So right now we have very few rental sets, but we will have a whole I think 20. Is that Dennis, correct?
20
So
sets, yeah.
Dennis
New
has
Cobras.
been headlining that. So once those all come in, we'll put them with a link and with a set and all what's available here. They just haven't fully come in yet.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem is the shipping with golf equipment right now with the COVID is very slow. So they were due in about a month ago and we're still waiting for quite a bit of it. So
As
I
is
have
everything.
a follow-up question to that. If you're driving people to an email, why wouldn't we drive them to the portal, the website, with those type of questions? In the sense that, let's say I call the clubhouse, it's after hours, the pro shop or whatever. Wouldn't there be like a recording? It says, go to www, whatever, golf, and answer the questions there.
Well, that's also a great point. In the same conversation we had at IT last week, we brought that up, and we can do that as well. We got clarity from that. We're just working on a menu right now of what we want, so that will come up and say to push people the right direction.
That makes sense. Okay.
yep.
Yeah, they're good. Then they won't be finding me. And
Well, in the
Well, at the
interim,
very bottom, we'll say contact Ted Deco any further.
no, don't say that, please.
you could forward those emails just directly to either Dennis or Scott.
Well, I do.
Oh, okay.
And because it says GEC chairperson, I
know.
always send you a copy.
Yeah.
And if it relates to Scott, I send one to Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. But yeah, we should be able to get this pretty clean up pretty quick now that IT gave us to go ahead to do that, and the phone message will be a big help for us as well. Because a lot of things that people call about can be easily done on the website. So it's going to be a big help for everybody.
Okay, well, back to Dennis's sound policy.
All right. As you remember, a few weeks back, we were talking about a lot of people nowadays seem to want to bring their Bluetooth speakers out in the golf course and play them while they're playing. In many occasions, some people do, a good job in not listening too loudly, but a lot of players have been. So we decided to come up with a policy to try to make it so the people that aren't abusing the policy can still do it, without going overboard, but the people that are, abusing the policy, which is interrupting other people while they're playing or playing in their group, etc., have a policy to tell them that not to do it and what we're going to do about it if that's the case. I don't know if you guys had gotten a copy of what we had written up, or.
Yeah, it's at the end of the.
Okay. So basically, it goes to show that if you're playing music, it has to be an acceptable volume. It should only be able to be heard in your group or in perfect world, just inside their cart would be perfect. If the music's too loud, you're going to be asked to turn it down by rangers or other staff members that are going to be at the golf course. If you get paired with someone that you do not know, if they don't want to have music played while they're playing with you, we're going to ask you not to play it. And if you refuse to follow the policy on the speakers, we're going to be forced to take the speaker and give it back to you when you're done, just to try to make it, safe for anybody. And if there's any issues, to list the numbers of both pro shops, and if they have a problem with it on the golf course, they can come back in and call us, and we can send somebody out to talk to them. And what we'd like to do is, once we get this policy finalized, is put on all the golf carts, make stickers up to put it right on the carts, just so people know what the policy is, and realize that a lot of people do get disturbed by loud music when they're out there playing golf.
The only suggestion might make is put the one, if you're paired with someone, ask them if they have a problem with music being played. Put that first.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's really that's the first likely place of confrontation anyway. So, and if it's down further on the list, somebody might not ever read that far too.
You mean people don't read things?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I can switch that around.
Do the starters share that as you're checking in?
They will be now. Yeah.
Good.
We just didn't have a policy for it before, because over the past couple of years, this has increasingly get to be a thing now. You have a lot of people, especially since COVID started, that never played golf.
Yeah.
That are playing golf, and this is just kind of what they do everywhere else, and they're trying to bring it into the golf course while they're doing it. So it's a new issue that that we have to deal with.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and especially having those USB ports on the cart makes it easier too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds nice, Dennis.
Do we have to vote on this?
Yeah, it would be nice if you gave it your blessing.
All right.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the sound policy. I don't know if we'll call it amendment as revised, and
Good. Second, anybody?
I'll second it. Andrew.
All right, let's have a roll call. Chris,
Yes.
Ted,
yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Ellen, yes.
Thank you so much.
Just one other thing though, that when the example was brought up in our last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, by Chris, he talked about it happening during a tournament.
Right.
Are they going to have their own rules about that?
I'm going to have to work it out with the tournament committee. They're going to have to follow the policy, basically.
Okay.
That we set. They're going to have to do the same thing. Truthfully, in my mind, though, I would like to see down the road. I don't think it's really necessary in a tournament to have music playing.
Well, especially in a tournament, like Chris said, when there's money and prestige involved, it's just not an appropriate thing.
No, especially, I agree. Like if you're playing for a club championship and somebody has, hard rock crashing on you when you're trying to putt or whatever, that's not a good.
Nobody would ever do that on purpose.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a policy now that you voted on passed unanimously, so they would have to follow it within the guidelines of Town of Yarmouth Golf. So Dennis will work with the tournament committee chair to make sure we're following the policy.
Good.
Okay.
All right, moving on to town meeting update.
Yeah, if you're not aware, town meeting is May 18th. The only thing that we have in golf on the warrant is Article 3. That's our budget.
I think, that's the town elections on the 18th. It's the 22nd, I think, for the town meeting.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Oh, my fault.
the town meeting is the 22nd. The election is the 18th.
My fault.
Usually it's the other way around. I
Usually
was really
isn't it?
surprised by that.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so May 22nd is the town meeting. That Article 3 is our budget for golf. And the request is I put in here is $4,192,000 this year. As always, funded entirely by golf fees and other revenue generated by golf. So if you could go or support to push the article through, that would be awesome. But we have nothing else on town meeting this year.
Not,
Are they having a physical meeting this year or?
Yes,
know?
it's actually outside at the same location,
Yes.
Manikees. And if there is a threat of rain, I guess they will move it inside, but my understanding is outside on the field for the town meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Membership update. I sent you guys that in packet. We gained a little over 200 members in the last month, so everything's moving smoothly, swiftly. Dennis can elaborate a little bit. He sees it more than I do at the front end lines, but looks like everything's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we've also had a lot of people that were down south had stayed a little extra, so we're expecting another influx coming in the next couple of weeks. Even the last couple of days, we've had a lot of people that were in Florida or down south somewhere have been coming back, but they stayed a little later this year. So we should see a little more of an increase coming up in the next
Dennis,
few weeks.
Just out of curiosity, how does it compare to last year so far? Just, you know.
It's a little bit ahead of last year overall. Yeah.
Well, I think last year in total, we took only about 700 members because of COVID. So we're far ahead of last year's pace.
Yeah.
yeah.
Overall, is that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we only
Yeah.
had about 700 total last year because of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 150 or so ahead right now. Total. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Last year is a hard year for comparison.
Yeah, it'd be probably easier to
Yeah.
compare it to the year prior. We can get that for you at the next meeting to see where we're at. Now, when you meet in June, would be a good comparison because that will be pretty much everything in by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the data that's been posted publicly by other towns show that they've already collected someplace between 83 to 89% of the revenue that they forecast for the entire year. So again, it's typically I've seen in other places your laggards also are your younger population generally. So they add a lot of they add to the count, but not necessarily as much to the revenues. But based on that, you would project that the revenue for the year for golf could be upwards of $950,000 for fees, for resident fees, which would be a huge jump from prior year.
Those are for the passes only. You're saying 80%.
Yep.
Right.
I had a specific question about the under 35 category. I will perhaps need to take that offline with you guys, but it's Yarmouth is unique among all the local courses in the scale of that under 35. I mean, it's like 4 or 5 times bigger than anybody else's, and which is amazing, particularly because some of the adjacent towns, their fees are less for the under 30s. So it's a nice sweet spot. I mean, we've gotten the fees are relatively high, $750, and we are knocking it out of the park with that group. Something is going on.
Well,
a little extra look into that.
Richard, couldn't some of those under 35s be a fair amount of them be out of towners that are?
That's correct.
Could be,
I would
and that's I think it's worthwhile to look a little bit more closely at that specific category, because anytime you outperform anybody, the rest of the community by such a big, you've lacked everybody else several times, it's worth making sure that we understand that a little bit more granularly.
Agree.
I agree.
Financials?
Financials. Sorry, I lost my little page here. So I've attached the munis before we can go through that. If you guys have specific questions on that. The big headlines is revenues are up 1.6 million over the same time last year. We gained roughly a $500,000 in a month. That's a lot of membership that came in for primarily to do that. And expenses are obviously up, but 4% is pretty good. Because that was based on COVID last year. So we're only up 4% from the same time last year, which is good. So right now we figured out we're roughly at $1 million in net profit at this point. So we got about a month, a little shy of 2 months to get through the rest of the fiscal year.
I think the big question, I think, is still the unanswered question is still going to be the allocation of fringe benefits. That is the $400,000 question right now. And we're not tackling it, I know, right now because of the change in management at the town level, but it's going to be something that we're going to need to address in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I'll keep a close eye on it to when it gets hit to us and what's occurring, and we can take that meeting to them when we need to on that subject between maybe myself, you, and Ellen, when we need to address that with them.
Yeah,
Does
and
does
as
that
well
hit-
as the, excuse me, as well as the overhead. We need to keep an eye on that figure as well.
Scott, does that number just hit all at one big nut, or does it come in monthly with the salaries?
Usually they hit it at one swell swoop and one charge, and then we that's how they allocate it to us, one big swoop.
Is it at the end of the year when you don't know
Usually
it?
they take it at the beginning of the year. So right now they haven't taken it yet, which is surprising. So
Okay.
it's worth keeping an eye on it if they're doing it, what they're doing this year. That's all.
Is that why it's 0-0?
That's correct.
Do we expect it to be more than their $68,600 from last year?
No. I would expect it to be less, but we'll see what they come up with.
That'd be a
expect
lot
it.
less.
Is that the category where they were taking the where we were paying for Mike's
We were paying full-time
benefits?
benefits for part-time employees.
yeah.
Well, it's not. I mean, that would be directly under health insurance. The OPEB is based on more full-time and the direct correlation with full-time help to OPEB expense. So there's a percentage based on the amount of workers we have. So that should actually be far less than 68. But
Well, what
we'll
about
see
that
what they
thing?
get us with.
What about the thing with the health benefits for the retired fire department employees like Mike?
Yeah, we're working on that too. But they've looks like they've corrected that error.
Yeah.
So
Do they intend to refund us for the past years that we've paid it?
I wouldn't imagine, no.
No, okay. I mean, Ed would be demanding the money if it was us doing it to him.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't imagine that's gonna happen, but
Yeah, well, I won't hold my breath.
But I think the fringe is really related to full-time employees,
right, correct.
correct? And so we're watching that to see what we get hit with the percentage and whether it's in line with the town statistics, the state statistics, whatever.
Right. Once it comes in, we'll see what it brings.
Yep. I'm sure that the financials are a little hard to grasp when you see this for the first time. So we'll definitely, as part of our tutorial lesson, we'll kind of go over the financials, etc.
Especially the idea that things that are negative are actually good.
Right. Just keep that in mind if you've never seen the Munis report. And maybe if it's the good numbers.
Yes.
Town is built on just not a lot of revenue coming in. So the negatives are good numbers on our side.
All right.
That's
That's it.
pretty much
for
all I got for you.
Right. Anybody have any Direct questions to Scott on anything in the director's report before we move on.
I did have a specific question related to carts in the post-COVID requirements. We had sort of prepped to have carts available for people who were uncomfortable sharing carts. What's the game plan for carts with this now post?
So we have, what do we order? 100 dividers, Dennis?
Yep.
We have 100 dividers in the carts. They're rolled up right now. If someone's uncomfortable to ride with somebody else, we'll put the divider down and they can ride together through that way. But right now it's two people in a cart. We're not, unless you pay the premium single rate, that's the way we're rolling.
Yeah,
But we do have the divider. If you feel uncomfortable, we can put it right down.
yeah,
Is that what we're
the fact
correct?
that we're sort of prepared for this is a huge plus. Kudos to you guys for making that happen.
I do have a question as well, if it's okay.
Sure.
Can we articulate what the plan is to maybe, and I hate to have to keep poking on this one, what is the sort of plan for improving our bunkers at Bayberry? I've played quite a bit over the last month, and almost everybody that I've played with has had some sort of a comment about that, and it's a little awkward. But it is an area that needs attention, and with all of the funding that we have available to us, it seems like we should be able to address that. We have an opportunity to really, I think, go from being a very good course to an excellent course, right? With that adjustment.
I'm confused by that though. I thought they were in a lot better condition than they were last year.
I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly not an engineer that can mark the paces of change, but I can tell you that a lot of the bunkers still are hard pack wet, even during sunny days. So
I would have to agree with that, especially last week when I played, I saw that some of that. But I guess the first question is just rakes. Are the rakes back now, or?
The rakes have not been put back out yet, but that's on our list to get out. You know, that stuff takes time to get back out there. So, but they will be back out there.
yeah, they were out on Bass River yesterday. So
yeah,
at least,
yeah, we'll get them out at Bayberry as well. We are, you know, the bunkers are an interesting thing because it's a proper sand level. We had a lot of sand over the course of the winter and spring, but it has been a wet spring this year, so it keeps the sand a little wet. As we go and dry down, it should get better as we go through the course of time here. But the liner itself is meant to keep the sand a little bit firmer, a little bit wetter. That's the whole point of it. So it's actually an easier shot, and I'll let Dennis elaborate to that. But that was the whole plan of the liner.
Scott, does it collect water? Is that why sometimes you get the wet spots that seem to pack down more than others? I'm just curious.
Doesn't necessarily collect water. It's just meant to keep it in place so it doesn't move. When the big rainstorms, the sand doesn't move. It stays right there.
Understood. It just seems also to collect the water in low spots and things like that, which pack the sand down without the rakes. So.
Right. Well, we haven't had a rake in the bunker for over a year right now, so that obviously didn't help the fact that no one could rake it. But like I said, Bass River got out this week. We'll get Bayberry out as soon as we can and let you up a little bit. But
so there were a couple of times where people. Yeah, so I think there were a couple of times too where I was playing with other people over the weekend, last weekend or the weekend before, where and again, I'm just offering, commentary that was, I've got my own opinion, but I'm telling you sort of what other people are saying, and I'm trying to do that in an uncolored way, which was, geez, there's really not all the sand in there. Geez, it's kind of wet and hard packed. Geez, that's really not a lot of fun. And so there was a lot of inconsistencies from bunker to bunker as well, where some would be hard packed and wet, and some would be okay, right? I mean, I didn't even know what to tell them other than, well, I think we're putting sand in, but I don't think that's the entirety of the problem, right? It seems to be some sort of a drainage problem.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a drainage problem, but it's more the proper sand level, and that's going to take some time to still find, but we're getting closer and closer. The liner is a good thing to have in the bunker. And
so the resolution at this point that we should tell people is, don't worry, when the weather comes, it's going to change itself, or do we need to do something else?
Well, no, we're not going to do anything more at this time. And we added a lot of stuff. been wet. So, it's hard to justify anything different at this point. We gotta let it dry down and see what is occurring at this point.
All right.
So the water table is a little high right now because it has been raining almost every night the last week and a half. So we want to see what happens when it fully dries down as it's meant to see what it brings through.
All right.
Dry down plus the raking might help Chris too. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I mean, obviously raking will help, when we can't have anyone rake it and we're raking at the beginning of the day. And then we have to then come back the next day and it's been ruined by, 200 golfers go through.
right.
It's hard to keep it into any kind of shape.
Or the
Because the ball-
turkeys.
Yeah, plus the golf ball is always gonna go to the low spot, and that's where everybody's gonna conjugate, and if you can't
Right.
keep raking it, that spot's gonna get
Right.
torn up a little
So
bit.
it should help a little bit once we get the rakes back out there, but
All right.
I'd
We'll
like
see
to
how
see
it
what
goes.
happens when we dry down a little bit.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, moving on to Article 24 discussion. And in case you're not aware, the Article 24 is the question of the solar farm on the links.
I
And
have a copy of it if you want me to post it. Article 24.
What is the explanation for Article 24? Can somebody give me like the Reader's Digest version? Like,
Article
It's,
24 is
solar.
Article 15 from last year that didn't get voted on
Oh,
about the
okay.
solar farm.
We're still talking about.
Okay,
It's
but
actually
now,
the thing
now
that-
instead, now instead of just paying for the wastewater project, they think that they can make enough money to pay just about every capital improvement the town needs. The new middle school, a new library. They also think that golf is losing money, and so that they could contribute to that.
Seems like a lot of confusion about what the facts are, right?
It's
Right.
not confusion. It's
I'm being kind.
So,
yeah, we try to be kind. What we say behind closed doors is
and actually, Ted, you did go to the Cape Cod, was it the Cape Cod League?
Cape Cod Retired Men's Club. Okay. Let me find the thing that Richard gave me, and I'll share it with everybody, because I have the all right, where am I?
What's the warrant actually going to do? Is it a vote on actually doing something like that, or is it just to investigate, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, the warrant is
it's,
actually to, oh, sorry, Ted, go ahead.
The warrant is only for raising money to fund a a study, a feasibility study. And here it is. All right. Let's see.
Yeah, there's actually no
All
sum
right.
of money associated with it. It was to see if the town would come up with a sum of money to
Right.
find
Alright.
a feasibility study.
Okay.
All right. Now, there's a lot of stuff here, but down at the bottom, can everybody see this?
Yes.
All right. This is Article 24 down here.
Okay.
And this is the article, feasibility of conversion, repurposing the links to solar farm, etc. So it's just a feasibility, but they don't mention anything about money either. And the select board was not happy about the fact that this is an open-ended request. And that's one of the reasons why they didn't approve it either.
So is it
And
even something
it
that
says
needs to be
here,
discussed?
to a solar farm whose potential income would be applied to offsetting the capital expenditures of the town as applied to capital projects, including golf, like they've ever paid for a capital project for golf, wastewater system, a new DY middle school, new town library, and other future capital projects, as well as previously approved debt exclusions for the DPW building and Cape Tech construction. You'd think this was going to make them $50 million a year.
Richard's already disproved that.
$10 million a year.
And then the explanation says the article is proposed in view of reports of little or minimal use of the links course. Where the
Right.
heck did they get that one from? Well, that's the type of rumor that, the people who grouse about the links go around and say that to somebody, and somebody who knows nothing about what's going on hears that. I mean, I walked away from a GEC meeting 5 years ago when somebody else brought this up, and Russ Karen was complaining about the links and saying that what they ought to do is turn it into put lights up so they could play at night and have it be a real, par 3 course.
All right.
You know,
Be
I
like
mean,
Top Golf all over again.
yeah, right. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
there are always people who don't like the links, and they go around and they say something about it, and you'd think it's like Twitter. Does everybody in the world agree with what people say on Twitter? Probably not, but they're the loudest and they get heard. So somebody hears that and they think that the links is a drain on the golf system. And there was some talk about that back 3 years ago when the issues of golf being financially behind for a couple of years for a number of different reasons, that maybe the links might be part of the problem, but the links isn't part of the problem.
So is this a dead issue now? It seems like
It's
it
not.
was not voted.
It's only a dead issue if the town meeting votes not to recommend.
But it's only for a feasibility.
It's only for a feasibility.
If they want to waste their money on feasibility, go for it. I mean, hasn't this thing already been killed twice, at least, I think?
Well, it's never been voted on before.
Oh, okay.
And it is a citizen's petition, so the Board of Selectmen cannot.
They can't kill it because it's a citizen's petition.
I see.
And the Board of Selectmen didn't recommend it. The Finance Committee didn't recommend it. The Cape Cod Retired Men's Club, one of the members is a professor at UMass who does work with energy use, and he doesn't recommend it. He finds their prediction, they have here conservative, right here, conservative estimates have shown the benefit may exceed $9 to $10 million annually. They would have trouble making $350,000 a year. Not that that's not a nice piece of change, but it's not $10 million.
Right. It's not worth displacing an entire real estate property that's developed for it.
Well, yeah, and most of the places where you see solar farms were underutilized pieces of property, like the empty land around Barnstable Airport, or the fields over off of Station Avenue where they have DY has some solar fields, or the landfill over at Dennis that wasn't appropriate for them to put in a golf course there, or out in Harwich. And of course, there's good news. And there's nothing to be said. There's also the fact that although it probably wouldn't stand in the way, it would be an item to slow everything down, is that the town of Yarmouth got a grant from the state in order to cap the landfill for recreational purposes. It would probably require an act of the General Assembly to change that. And then the state would probably require the town to put an equal amount of land into recreational use somewhere else in the town.
Yeah, that would not be probably, that would be a have to. That's how it went in. So the town would have to find equal land somewhere to recreate the same thing going on.
So there's all kinds of reasons why this is just an absolutely, you're entitled to your your opinion, but not your own facts, and their facts are just totally whacked out.
It's good education. I think the good news is that we've already disproved all of this with data, and we've mounted a fairly sizable business case that refutes this assumption. So it seems like at this point, it's just rinse, lather, and repeat, right? You know, we're just going to keep going with the same information that we've got because it's based on actual data, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see my thing here. Wait a minute. Where'd it go? One of the things they claimed was, oh, here it is. One of the things they claimed was that they get 10 hours of sunshine a day. Well, here are the peak sun hours in the United States, according to the solar panel industry. We get 4.2.
4 hours here in our.
Yeah, not 10. And if you have solar panels on your roof, you know that there's a big difference from day to day. And another fact too over here, and most of this data really, it comes from Richard. Richard is the one who dug all this stuff up and gave it to me to show to them. So the credit for finding this stuff goes to Richard. And he put together this chart, which he included on one of his emails that he gave to us relating to this. But if you look here, where it says this is what the towns make and what was expected down here at the bottom, down here. All right. Yeah. Percent over or under what the theoretical production was. Everybody is making less, you know, around 18% less than what they thought they were going to make. The towns aren't really happy with the amount of money they are getting from the solar fields that they have. All right. The only one that's even is close at minus 6% is in Falmouth, but it's only what, two or 3 years old. Where's the lifetime growth? Yeah.
Yeah, so the panels deteriorate over time, so the longer trajectory shows the higher loss.
Years operating, 3.7 for Falmouth. Everyone else is at 6.8, you know, almost 7 years. So if you think of last year when we had the drought season, a great year for producing electric power. That's one of their 3 years, whereas we've had some not so great summers where when the sun don't shine, you're not making a whole lot of electricity. So, I mean, there's just an infinite number of reasons why this is not as great of an idea as what they're trying to sell.
It's been a good primer, I think, for folks that are new to the committee. I think that the summary takeaway is that we're pretty well covered in terms of our rebuttal in this area.
When we're going to have to make a statement about this at the town meeting.
Again.
And by the way, the Cape Cod Retired Men's Club, they intend to make a statement as well. And here's another thing that Richard dug up. One of the problems, these are maps of the 3 landfills, topographical maps. This is the ridge line at the links, which basically runs east-west. All right. And solar panels really only function to their highest efficiency when they're on the south side of a slope. At least half of the site is on the north side of the slope, which means you can put solar panels there, but they're not going to collect as much. They're going to have to be spread further apart and things like that. So that cuts down on the efficiency and the amount of electricity you could produce. I suppose this would all be stuff that would be found by whoever you paid the $100,000 to.
I'm going to be the.
Yeah, why don't you offer to do the study? And they can pay you the $100,000.
All right, well, I think we've kind of beat this to death, but the point is I wanted everyone to know that it's out there and we need to be prepared. Ted, are you going to speak if necessary at the town meeting?
If necessary, or Richard would probably be the one. I mean, he knows these numbers much better than I do. What I'm telling you, he told me. So
Isn't the duty of the person who's presenting to Board of Selectmen, doesn't that usually fall on the chairperson, Ellen? Or is that something that
No.
we do, anybody can go and
Anybody
present?
can
It's a
stand
public
up.
meeting, so anybody can speak.
Yep.
But we're speaking specifically on behalf of the Golf Enterprise Committee in this context?
well,
Is there
I
any?
would think anybody could speak for
Anybody.
the Golf Enterprise Committee, particularly if the Enterprise Committee asks that person to speak for the committee.
Sure,
So,
yeah, okay. Well,
right.
we'll do it again.
Besides the fact that we're going to need the links when we get to the wastewater situation. But that's another whole issue.
well, that's a whole nother ball of wax.
That's right. So let's move on now to, there was a request at the last meeting to have a discussion on the rates for 2022. So
Annual fee rates, that is.
that annual fee rates, yes. In preparation for the fact that for new members, we go to the board twice or three times.
Twice. We go in front of them for a presentation for fee hearing, and it's 2 hearings. So anything over 5%, as if you do not know, needs to go to town meeting approval.
So can I add a little bit of color to this commentary? There was also discussion that was brought forth a couple months ago about introducing a new product for Bass River. And I don't know if this was the time to have that discussion.
Yeah, we
but
can
yeah.
bring it all up.
But also Jay, at a couple of, as a public comment, had done some excellent work on the notion of adding a per round fee in addition to, and trading that off with lower fees in total. So there's a lot of options that are potentially could be considered.
Did you ever hear back from the National Golf about that by chance?
We've gone back and forth a little bit. We're meeting again this week to talk some more about a bunch of discussions on the membership structure. So we haven't got any concrete information yet, but.
So is it
I'll get
premature
back
to
to you
talk
soon.
about any of this stuff until that happens, or should we continue this discussion?
Well, I did want to share, if I could, a screen.
Are you able to, Richard, or do you need me to? You should be able to.
So, did I do it right?
Yours.
Okay,
Yep,
good.
you did.
Okay. So one of the, as part of the preparation for the annual 2021 fee hearing, I did pull together as comprehensive a view as possible of what was going on in other communities, as well as some of our, these would be the municipal operations as well. I included some information about Blue Rock and Kings Way because they are in town. And on one column, I also took a quick look at the Cape Cod Country Club because that is allegedly losing money. And so they're talking about converting, or the planning board in Falmouth has approved converting that into a solar farm. I think a couple of the headlines out of this is, as with the wide range of programs that are out there, it's amazing how consistent it turns out that the average fee per round is across the towns. So plus or minus, really sort of a few dollars in 2020. So I think we need to be very strategic in our thinking here because, and I'll pick on ourselves, by introducing the Links membership, which was very affordable, it did provide a vehicle for people who are looking for a value solution to basically move in that direction and free up more additional tee times theoretically for high-priced guest play. Something similar to what Brewster is doing, if you look at the Brewster column right in here, they have introduced two time-based restriction memberships, very affordable again, to try to take some of the peak load off of their early morning rounds in particular and shift them into later in the day. And if you look toward the bottom of the screen here, you can see the impact that that has had in Brewster. So Brewster has roughly 700, I got that right, 620 resident memberships. But as you can see, less than half now are at their premium rate. Almost half of them have shifted to the discounted rates, which is an interesting phenomenon. So that's when as we look into this and talk with National Golf about this, it's not going to necessarily be as straightforward as, or we have to be strategic in our thinking so to make sure that the consequence of making some of these decisions actually gives a result that we want. I'll also take a look at the Barnstable Hyannis only option as another example. So they had a situation where because of some of the quality issues with the turf at Hyannis, Barnstable was getting inundated with play at the
Old Barney.
and their solution to it was to offer a Hyannis only membership to try to take some of the volume out of Old Barney. So I think there's some strategic, that's where I'm talking about the strategy involved in that. If anybody is interested, I also keep track here as I go down the page. Hold on a second. I actually keep track constantly of all the pass counts, as well as the average fees and weighted average fees.
Just ask a quick question on this top part that you sent out, well, that was sent out to us. I think Ellen sent it.
Yep.
You have average fees. I mean, and is that just for members or
Just
is this average fee across just for members?
Yes, I actually have that data by membership type as well.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, I mean, what percentage, do you have any idea what percentage of the rounds are played by members versus are like in 21 for us versus?
Typically in our area, we're about 50-50. I got that right, Scott? Right, we're 50-50. Brewster is about 50-50. Dennis and Harwich are 70-30, 70% resident or annual pass versus 30% guest play. Barnstable is also about 60-40 at this point, I believe.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that I found interesting too is if you look at the resident percent of total, what's really fascinating here is how unique Brewster is, as well as because they have, if you'll notice that their resident fees are very high, they also have a very high number of non-residents. So they actually get 43% of their annual pass revenue comes from members, non-resident members, which is huge. We're right now in 2020, we were about 91% was from local residents versus 57% for Brewster. So there's again some big variances between in business strategies that are employed here. So I don't know if that helps, but there you go.
and throw out your options. I mean, we can talk about anything for the moment here. This is all getting ready before we do remember that if we change or introduce a new fee structure, we have to go to the town meeting to get it approved.
Is it our job to introduce the new fee structure or to just advise on what we think the potential opportunities or challenges might be sort of as they're presented or in summary format? I feel like we're in a little bit deep here in terms of this conversation. Because Scott, isn't this really your budget? Right?
It is.
It's Scott's budget, but we are asked to, for our, that we balance
Vice Council.
his budget.
Well, we're supposed to be advisory, so.
We are only advisory.
Right, we are only advisory, so, and we got
So
involved.
we created the budget,
Well,
or I should say
that's
Richard
true.
created the budget, right? Yeah.
And the Board of Selectmen will have to approve anything that we advise.
Right. So the problem with
So-
that situation is that if Scott is not the originator of the thought content and the analysis work that goes into the budget and modeling, that it's very difficult for him to inherit that and then represent it as a version of truth, right? It's almost a very sort of, you just have to kind of agree and say, yes, that's how it is, right? So, I mean, we've
No,
all
I
been through this
I
in
don't-
corporate environments, right?
I don't think that's true. I think we've had discussions in the past and Scott, with Scott and.
So Scott, do you feel like you can take this model and run with it and speak to it in all of its different dimensions and fields and things like that on your own?
Yeah, for the most part, but this is not how it works in this town. We work together with you guys to make what we want.
Well, that's
Okay.
how it works now, because you're the director.
Right.
People who weren't here 17 years ago, when the Board of Selectmen actually went to the director and demanded that he create a fee structure that they felt treated the more casual golfer fairly. And he came up with a 3-tiered system that they wanted to be instituted, of $850 for unlimited play, $625 for up to 50 rounds, and $450 for 25 rounds or less. The golfers rebelled. The golfers circulated a petition that called a special town meeting at which the enterprise fund was created, including this committee as part of the end. And that's why there is a golf enterprise committee, is because that was a requirement that was voted on at the town meeting. So it is possible for the selectmen to actually impose a fee structure.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I would say that the real way it goes down is it's a me to you, if you will, but it's a discussion between operations with myself, Dennis, and everybody else involved in operations with you guys to set a fair, equitable fee structure that we can present and speak to at the fee hearing structures, but neither us or you guys actually said it. It's actually the Board of Selectmen who will vote in favor of it or not.
Right.
They could vote it completely down and we're having to start from scratch, but if you're advising as this is the way to go, that's probably not going to happen, as it's not happened since I've been here. But it happened right before I took over, and that's why we had to completely scramble and rework it to get it to a functioning membership structure. But to just reiterate the fact, if you were to create a new fee or any kind of new thing, that does have to go to town meeting after the fee hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, the Board of
And-
Selectmen have to approve it, and then it has to be approved at the town meeting.
And what
Which it can be done, it would have to go in front of, you would want that at fall town meeting. So that's why my suggestion is that we go in front of them in July and August, as they keep saying nobody's around when we do this. So if we set fee structure in July or August, if there was a new fee, you have time to do it and set it into fall and be all set for the new
Well,
season.
so for starters, this isn't not really a we kind of a conversation. It's your business to manage for the town. It's our job to advise you in that regard. So whatever rate structure you're going to propose would be implemented by you, Scott, right? We can certainly give our opinion that, yes, these are the things that sound like they're the most reasonable or feasible. But it would not be up to us to ratify anything other than to say that, yes, we believe that these are the right things to look at, right?
The Board of Selectmen, we will present with Scott to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen will ask, does the GEC approve of the structure that has been submitted by Scott?
Interesting,
Right.
because I didn't realize that our job as advisors was an approval function for that type of stuff.
I think it's more support the structure than approve.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Under
if
the
you,
previous,
if you guys support it, it's a better chance of it going through, obviously, if you have their support, if you support the fee structure, more than likely the Board of Selectmen is going to vote in favor of that.
right,
But
and if we
obviously,
were
if you
to,
don't support it, then they probably won't support it as well. So, yeah, I think it's a good relationship that we have between operations and the GEC. But it's based on what works for us and what works for the membership to make sure everything goes smoothly as much as it can. Obviously, things come up, but you know, as I was talking to Ellen about it, that it's better to have these conversations over the next couple of months and be ready in probably August, let things settle down between the fiscals and have the fee hearing then. So you have people around and you can have that. And if there were something, you have that fall town meeting to go to if need be.
So that being said, if you want to make a suggestion, Chris, for a separate, this is a good time to start on the thoughts.
Sure. I mean, I'm going to get tactical on folks here. So I think there's, the higher level discussion, which is what we just had. And then a couple months back, we talked about the possibility of doing a like for like membership product, something similar to the links, but that would only apply to Bass River. This was specifically targeted for people who aren't super active players, but that wouldn't want to have to choke off a $1,200 membership. I kind of use my mom as a role model for that. She only plays at 6 o'clock at night. She walks over, plays 4 holes, and then leaves. But that kind of stuff. But it seemed like an opportunity where the courses are very separate in terms of their user bases, and the people generally who want to play at Bass River are not necessarily people who play at Bayberry and vice versa. But there is no sort of a membership vehicle that would provide people with access to the course at the same sort of level that we provide via the Links membership across town. When I first raised the issue, and just as a suggestion, it seemed like it had fairly widespread support across the GEC. We had suggested that maybe that would be an item for discussion during this particular meeting. Now, 60 days, I guess, later, when the rate structure discussion was going to take place. So I would really just like to hear, the last we talked about it with you, Scott, you seemed supportive. You thought that you were going to take it under consideration, and perhaps there would be something that would be a new product, not for this fiscal year, but for the summer of 22 season, right? That could potentially go into place. So I don't know what the next steps are in terms of how we advance that discussion, but I guess that's where we could use some shaping guidance from the rest of the team, right?
I don't know if there was a universal sense of support for that at the time. I think it came up towards the end of a meeting, and we didn't really want to get into a discussion, so we put it off without too many people saying anything at the time.
Well, if you object to it, now's the time to talk about it.
Well,
so.
I think the first thing you're going to have is people saying, well, gee, if they can have a Bass River membership only, why can't I have a Bayberry membership only and get a price break too?
We do that with the links, though. I think that's
Well,
the easiest.
no, that's only the links, that's not, that's not what most people think of when they think of Bayberry. And we also have the whole issue of the fact that Bass River is going to close for a year sooner or later. That could complicate that issue. And then if we do the master plan at Bass River, we may find a far more competitive product where that type of thought doesn't work.
Yeah, well,
And,
it sounds like it's not supported, so I'll withdraw the offer and,
Just-
you guys can do what you want.
Chris,
well,
just
that's just
before
my
you go-
opinion. I don't know what the other people think.
Yeah, before you go, just, I mean, I know people too that don't play anymore in Yarmouth because, it's too tough for them to get they can't afford, they don't play enough to play. It's similar to what Chris was describing. And I just wondered if there's what is it? Barnstable one of them had I guess it was Brewster has like a certain rate for time of day. There are times I think when the golf courses aren't fully utilized. I mean, I'm not sure, maybe Scott, you could comment on that. Our afternoons seem to be more open. If we had some kind of afternoon type of rate that would allow people that don't play that much to play, would something like that make sense? That's similar to what Chris was describing, I think.
We talked about this in the March and the April meetings. So this is territory that we've retraveled. We should have it again, though. Should have the discussion again for the new people that weren't part of that.
Sorry.
Well, I don't think we really finished
Yeah.
the discussion in March. And Scott, your thoughts on the
Just to be-
afternoon play?
Yeah, just to be clear, Chris, you're talking Bass River only, and Jay, you would be talking Twilight for the whole place.
With just throwing that out as another option that maybe would also meet Chris's types of needs because he mentioned his mother played afternoon, but
I just saw it as a thing that people would benefit from, and I'm only using my mom as a potential use case, right? Not as I don't have any vested interest in whether this happens or not, right?
And Scott, I guess I'm just throwing that out. It could be both courses. It could be one course. It could be a course that maybe Bass River's not used at all in the afternoon, hardly. So I'm just throwing out that maybe there's a timetable window that would fit into a similar thing that Chris discussed, similar to what Brewster has done to try to bring in some members that may not be playing that often.
Brewster did it.
I don't. It doesn't sound like Chris is all that keen on it having to be Bass River. From what I understand, it's more of a time thing, correct?
It's like a limited use membership, basically.
Exactly.
I mean, we do the same thing with young adults. We do the same thing with teenagers.
Right. You're looking for an additional restricted pass that would probably cover the whole property, in my estimation, at this point.
And I was just suggesting that windows might be available within the day when they're not fully utilized. It would make sense to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, we can explore our options. Like I said, we got some discussions with National Golf. Dennis will be in on this. I don't know what he thinks now, but our best bet is to put it through them, and we'll go from there on the Twilight rate. I know other courses do it. I'm not sure if Dennis did it when he was up at Cranberry Valley. I'll let him speak to that, but there could be some value to it. We'll see what they have to say. I don't know if Dennis wants to elaborate a little bit.
Sure, the only thing I will say is if you look at historical tee sheets for any golf course, and you're looking for what they call dead zones, which is basically a lot of times you're going to run into dead zones when we have rate changes. Say if there's a twilight fee in the afternoon, we used to find at Cranberry, we did an after 4 rate at Cranberry Valley. So the area between leading up to that, like probably the hour leading into that, used to be a dead zone. And that was a good time for members to get out at that point. But a lot of them, so that was an idea of doing a membership twilight rate during dead zone times, which would be after X time in the afternoon type thing. So the first thing I think you should do is take a look at your historical tee sheets to see if there are dead zones, and see if there's areas where there are opportunities and openings to take a look at, and then it becomes a viable option at that point.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was suggesting. Yeah.
Richard might be able to talk to this too, but one of the things you might have to watch out for is, are you taking people who buy a membership and don't play a lot because for whatever reason, but now you give them a lower price and you put them out on the course at a different time?
But
you know, how much they play, that might actually be a good thing because you're
Yeah.
taking them from playing in the morning where
Yes.
you could sell a more expensive
exactly.
tee slot, and you're putting them in the afternoon, and hopefully you're making more money selling the daily fees. But if the people if the people you're moving around are just going to end up taking money out of the you know, the amount of money you make as for memberships, if, like your selection, your idea of a lower fee and then a payment every time you play, that works fine. But what happens in a year when you have bad weather and all of a sudden people don't play as much just because you had a lot of rainy days, and so that extra fee doesn't, you know, as long as you have a year with consistent weather, that might actually lead to more revenue from members. But if you're in your bad weather years, you could have a real loss.
Yeah, we should average out over time. I understand your point, though. Yes, it could.
Yeah, but the Board of Selectmen don't care about averaging out over time. You know, you
Sure.
can imagine
At the same
Tracy-
time, we're
you could
1.6
imagine
million
Tracy
in the
Post.
black, right?
I-
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't care about the 1.6 million in black.
yeah.
They probably don't care about that either. You're probably right, Richard.
Yeah.
I could hear Tracy Post now saying, well, they lost money last year, but they did cover it with their reserve from the year before, but, you know.
I think, again, sort of the interesting part about looking ahead to next year as well is we're going to get some indication, I think, certainly in this upcoming season, about what the legs are, the future legs are for golf in general. I think for the most part, at least what I'm observing, our biggest challenge for the 2021 season is going to be tee times. We're going to hear it again. It looks like volume.
Membership counts are up significantly, so you're definitely going to hear tee time complaints for sure. Yeah.
So I think so. There were literally no dead zones as far as I could see in the tee sheets last year, and it looks like I'm thinking there's going to be very few dead zones in 2021.
Right.
And I think the uncertainty about 2022 is high enough that, you know, sort of I would be very cautious about making a lot of changes that would not be, you know, which at this point, just because of all of that uncertainty and the huge upside I think Yarmouth has right now. So
that's a good point. I think there probably would be some trepidation about making any kind of new decisions in terms of products or pricing until they understand what the post-COVID world looks like.
Just as another comment, though, I think that we've done this in the past. I think I would actually use the links as an example. I think people were looking at not enough play in the links and that there might be a value there, which was a tee sheet opening. So I do think it's worth investigating, if nothing else, to see if there's gaps that are available, and that there's some possibility. So I just suggest that we look into it. It doesn't have to mean we have to have something this year, but it's certainly worth looking at trying to optimize the distribution. Like I think Ted even mentioned, if there's some people that will play after 3 o'clock in the afternoon because they get a little bit of a discount and we're able to sell times at full rates earlier in the day, the revenue could go up. So, so I think it's certainly worth investigating.
You just have to be careful that.
I'm sorry.
You have to be careful that people you're moving are actually the right people who are, you know, you do have some people who buy a membership but don't play a lot of rounds.
Well, you could lower the other thing is you could lower the 80-year-old limit for the senior rate, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of appetite for that either, right?
Yeah.
So
we're all seniors.
And,
say something.
Some of you weren't members back in when the stuff hit the fan about us being underfunded for a couple of years. We had an awful lot of discussions about simplifying the fee structure. And right now it's pretty simple and straightforward. Once you start throwing all these other options in there, you start making things more complicated, and you start getting away from the old, keep it simple, stupid concept. And one of the main reasons we came up with the links is because we were doing away with the old punch cards, which were a total loser. And we wanted to be able to say to the selectmen that we were taking into consideration the type of golfer that was using the punch cards, particularly far more senior. They were restricted to people who were seniors and not playing a lot of rounds, but they were costing golf, a ton of money. And by creating the Links membership, we created an inexpensive option and put them in a place where they weren't going to get in the way of the members who were paying the full fee and the daily fee players who were paying the big bucks. So that's that's the main reason why the Links membership is there.
Well, I can tell you just from an experience perspective, I started out as a punch card member when I was a part-time resident, because I came down. I still owned property in town, and paid taxes, but I came only on the weekends or for a week or two during the summer, because I didn't live here full time. I started out as a punch card user, just playing maybe 5 times a year, and otherwise I wouldn't have played here. So, I mean, I understand what you did. I also understand that there are people that, get stuck, but anyway, I don't think you have to make it really complicated. I was referring to finding a hole and maybe making one additional rate.
Well, let's put it back on the agenda for next month. Scott can talk to National Golf.
Sure, I would say
maybe
on our end and as operations, we don't want significant dead zone on the tee sheet. So if we feel that we see this, we'll definitely, we're going to talk to National Golf anyways. This is a good time to have them on our payroll, if you will, because they see it with many courses going on. And to Rich's point, there's a lot of uncertainty, not what happens this year, but what happens next year. So they see a lot of golf courses. They'll lead us in the right direction as to what to do here. But I wouldn't say we're opposed to that. I'm not opposed to the twilight rate, but I would like to put it through them and see what they say as we're in this crazy 2021 phase, but 22 may be significantly different. But we all know we don't want to see a 2-hour gap of tee times. That's not what anyone wants to see. So
that makes sense.
So I think we'll put this on the agenda for next month and see what we come up with. All right, next, wastewater review, the Links and Bayberry improvements. So I think from what I understand is that Dennis Yarmouth Harwich has been postponed for now as far as the voting. Is that not correct on the wastewater?
Yes, that's correct.
And I also understand that it has been said that we would go forward with Yarmouth wastewater if the other two drop off, which at some point still gets us back to Bass River.
In fact, I think one of the things the selectmen indicated was that they needed to sort of give the other two towns not put up or shut up, but you have to do something. We're ready to go. Just because you're not ready, because you haven't done the work to prepare people, that's the big argument from Dennis, is that they haven't had the opportunity to do public education because of COVID. And if Harwich doesn't do it, they're not going to do it because to go in just with us, well, Yarmouth is the bigger town. Who's going to end up being the person that controls everything would be Yarmouth. And so Dennis isn't going to enter into that kind of an arrangement.
It's
So
on the ballot, I believe, for Dennis, though.
no, they're not going to.
No?
No, it was going to be on the ballot, but you know, they're not going to vote on it. It's been put off at least until the fall.
So my only comment on this topic is just that GEC's involvement in wastewater needs to be something that's more finely scoped. We are tracking this at a capital project level, and our involvement in it is that we're chasing requirements across all of it. I think that we need to be very clear on what our role is in supporting this discussion, and it's really Scott's fight to fight. Our job is to advise him on what we think is the best course of action based upon what we know, but it's almost all related to how do you run a golf course, not how do you do capital planning and capital improvement budgeting, right?
I think you're incorrect about some of that. I think that is very
Well, then I
much,
would love for you to disprove me in that statement.
I think that we have said that it very much is a matter of coming up with the dollars to be able to support our decision that we would like the second
master plan,
the
yeah.
master plan that they had come up with.
And we've already done that many times over. I don't know that there's any more work to be done there, Ellen.
Well, I think that I'm just bringing up for the discussion on the wastewater in general, but we also had said that when this happens to Bass River, we have to have Bayberry and the links ready
And the
to
only,
accept the
and I-
downside.
And I don't disagree with that statement, but the only thing I would say is contextually is that all of this is predicated upon a schedule that is still very much in motion. None of this stuff has been voted on. So all we're doing is speculating on timelines, right? We could easily just say, well, when you guys figure out a schedule and you give us some hard dates, then we'll let you know. We've already done all of our analysis work, and really it's not even our analysis work to do, it's Scott's analysis work to do. So I think we're at least centered around what needs to happen if they do come up with a schedule or an approach. But right now it's so early to be able to tell what all of this is. Why would we continue to distract ourselves from the more immediate needs that we have, right?
I thought we were being not distracted by the fact that we have plans that need to be done for links that are over due at the links.
Yeah,
and Bayberry.
one of the elements in the Article 24 was that they claimed that the links was in disrepair and et cetera, and that the National Golf Foundation claimed that the links was run down and things like that, when all the National Golf Foundation was doing was pointing out that the expected lifetime of the links irrigation system has run out.
Right.
The course opened in what, 1999, and with a 20-year lifespan of an irrigation system, we're beyond that. And the irrigation system needs to be upgraded. It needs to be repaired, whatever. And getting it done before a closure of Bass River is an important consideration. If and when the wastewater project occurs, and I think it's a matter of when, because Yarmouth will undoubtedly go it alone. We already have at least one selectman who's really pushing for that because of the increased costs and everything else with inflation, building costs and everything else going up. It's going to happen sooner or later. So getting the links irrigation system taken care of is something that needs to be done anyway.
So let's just make a decision and position the conversation. I mean, we all come across this in our regular business roles, right? I can't, as an example, I can't predict what some portfolio manager in the company has as a plan that hasn't been ratified yet. So all I can do is decide what my own plan is, right? And if they come with something else that overrules that or impacts it, then we have a different discussion, right? Which is like, all right, well, now you're going to kill these certain areas of
Well-
my plan, and what are you going to do about that, right? And then I think that gives us a much crisper point of discussion in terms of some of this stuff, because trying to figure out how to master plan the wastewater project and where all of the golf stuff fits into that is not going to work out successfully. Right?
I don't think that's what we're doing. I think we're doing our own business. Like you said, our own business is that the links irrigation needs to be taken
Okay,
care of.
well, I'm all for that. So I just
And-
want to make sure that it's
And-
contextually in
and
the
talk
right.
about bunkers in bad shape. The
Right.
links, the bunkers really need to be taken care of.
Oh, come on, Ted, they're not that bad.
Oh yeah, well, when you hit into the liner, the cloth
Yeah.
liner
No.
underneath there. Yeah.
It's a hazard, Ted. Come on, it's a hazard.
Oh, now you're giving us the Jim Armentrout. Don't hit it there.
Yeah. Yeah. If I don't know if I can weigh in a little bit, we did have Tim come down to do a site visit on Bayberry. He's working on a master plan for Bayberry that will include irrigation, bunkers, some new tees, the whole 9 yards, and we'll get that in front of you as soon as we can.
So
Excellent.
I'm just curious about why we're assessing capital improvements for links as part of the wastewater project. Do we feel like that's related?
No,
No, it's more on the timeline to make sure that, we're not doing
Right.
both in conjunction.
it's a
Only
time.
only one course will be done at a time.
I see.
That's all. So the wastewater is, we do need somewhat of an answer there. Is it 5 years out, 10 years out? From what I understand, it's going on to everybody's fall town meeting. I don't think they're as far apart as everybody thinks. I think they will come to an agreement, but who knows? But from what I hear, that it looks like it will be a fall town meeting article for most of these towns.
Last year during fall, it was a spring agenda, and
Right.
this year it's a fall agenda, right? Sooner or later, the clock's going to run out, and they're going to have to
Right.
decide. Yeah.
Right.
That's what the Board of Selectmen is saying too, is that they're not willing to keep waiting for the other people, which keeps costing more and more money over the long run.
But you're going to miss your window, right? This is
Exactly.
all-
And
yeah.
so they're saying, let's tell them that we're waiting for you to make up your mind, or we're going it alone.
Yeah, I would just give them a date and
So-
say, if we don't have a response
Well,
by
that's
this date, then
That's
yeah,
basically the direction
Yeah.
they seem to be heading.
that seems smart.
But we don't want to miss our window with Bayberry either. With money is with the interest rate as low as it is, this is the time to do something. So we're moving forward with what we would like to do over there, and obviously we'll get that all organized, and then we'll put it to you, and then it has to go to the board, and then to town meeting for the funding. So that's what our plan is, and we'll keep moving forward there. As soon as I get everything back from Tim, we'll bring in Tim for what he found and what he would like to do, get a proper cost, we'll get that done, and we'll go through the committee process that needs to go through.
Sounds good. All right, and really, this was just an agenda for update for everyone to know where we stand with the capital improvements and wastewater, etc. So any other members' concerns we need to address at this time, or
I have one.
yes, Ted?
In all the process that's gone on to bring in our much needed new members, did the GEC participate in interviewing the candidates?
The GEC chairman participated in interviewing the new candidates, not the old candidates, not
Oh.
myself. Obviously, I did not interview myself. I was
Okay.
interviewed.
I just wanted to make sure about that. We did have a big issue about that a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I know our role seems to have been, like we didn't get to participate in the RFP for the food and beverage the way we have participated in those things in the past.
Correct.
And I'm concerned about, the GEC went through many years of being sort of an afterthought, and something that Jim Armentrout just did because he had to, probably. And then the Board of Selectmen decided that they wanted us to play a more significant role. And if they're changing their, if they're changing the rules in the middle of the game, I did submit my resignation over that last time, and so did Ralph Simons, and he kept his resignation. So I just wanted to find out for sure whether we're still following those guidelines. I mean, I don't know if Scott would be the director of golf if the GEC didn't participate in the interview process for that either.
I think that is the Board of Selectmen that decides that. And yes, they have been very much, they definitely included us. Any other concerns? Do I hear?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Would anybody like to second that Is that a yes, Richard, you're seconding?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, Chris? Chris? Is that a yes?
That's a yes from me.
Richard's got a yes. Ted?
Yes.
I'm voting yes.
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
I guess that's it for tonight. Chris is,
When's our next meeting?
it would be, anybody got a calendar? Second week in Monday,
June 14th.
June 14th.
June
Yep.
14th. In the meantime, we'll see what we can come up with for another night to have an agenda for training for historical.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.